Arya Johnson closed the hotel room door behind her, the soft click echoing through the small, dimly lit space. Her luggage sat forgotten in the corner as she let out a sigh, a mix of nerves and excitement twisting in her chest. Across the room, the man she had spent weeks chatting with online sat stiffly on the edge of a sleek leather chair, impeccably dressed, unervingly calm. But there was a tension in him, subtle and raw, that made her pulse race. Han Jun, handsome, tall, striking, a man whose reputation as a powerful, untouchable figure preceded him. Yet here he was, looking as nervous as she felt. "So, this is it," Arya said, leaning casually against the wall, one eyebrow arched. "You, me, a room? And apparently some kind of plan?" Jun's lips twitched into what might have been a smile, though it quickly vanished. "Plan?" he repeated, voice calm but edged with the faintest panic. I thought we were just meeting." "Yes," she said, stepping closer, circling him slowly. "You thought. I had other thoughts. Bold thoughts. Dangerous thoughts. But now we're here, and apparently stuck with each other." He swallowed. His eyes flicked down to her lips for the briefest second before snapping back. I... His voice faltered, betraying a nervousness he was desperate to hide. Arya grinned. "Relax. I'm not here to bite. Yet." Jun's chest rose and fell faster. He adjusted his suit jacket like it could somehow shield him. "You're very bold. Bold enough to say what I want," she replied, tilting her head. "And maybe tease you a little while we figure out what comes next." He blinked, flustered, and she noticed the subtle tremor in his hands. I'm not used to this." "Neither am I," she admitted, perching herself on the edge of the bed. "And that's what makes it fun." The tension between them thickened, the room humming with the unspoken awareness that neither of them knew what to do next. Arya smirked. "So, Mr. Intimidating, what are we going to do? Stare at each other like idiots all night?" I don't know," he admitted, voice low, almost vulnerable. "I'm scared." Arya's grin softened, a warmth touching her eyes. She reached out and lightly brushed her fingers against his. "Me too," she confessed. "But that's okay. Fear makes it exciting." He exhaled shakily, unsure if he should laugh or retreat. "Exciting? Yes," she said simply. "Exciting, because neither of us knows exactly what we're doing. And somehow, that makes it perfect." He looked at her, captivated by the honesty in her voice. For a man used to control, power, and fearlessness, this was disarming. She wasn't pretending. She was bold, funny, and somehow real. "Maybe we should just talk," he suggested after a long pause. "Get to know each other first." Arya laughed softly, shaking her head. Not sexy but safe. Talking it is." Her phone buzzed, breaking the moment. She glanced at it and grinned. "Oh, Mimi." "Who's Mimi?" Jun asked suspiciously. "My best friend," Arya said, answering the call. Her voice lit up the room, playful and mischievous. "She's dying to know how I'm handling this situation." Mimi's voice exploded from the phone, loud and teasing. "Girl, tell me everything. Are you charming him? Intimidating him? Or both?" Arya laughed. "Honestly, a little of both. He's adorable when he's nervous, and it's funny." "Adorable?" Mimi shrieked. "Oh my God. You better not embarrass yourself, or him." Jun's brows furrowed as he listened, a mix of curiosity and alarm. "Embarrass myself?" Arya smiled at him. "She's my friend. She thinks I'm coaching myself through this, and apparently coaching you too." Jun blinked. "Coaching me?" "Yes," she said, wiggling her eyebrows. "She says I should be bold, flirty, funny, maybe even a little seductive. I think she's laughing at both of us." Jun swallowed. "And are you following her advice?" "Of course," she said, striding closer to him. "I mean, look at us. Two idiots in one room. Someone has to take control." He exhaled, a small smile tugging at his lips. I'm scared of everything." Arya reached out, her hand brushing his again. "Me too," she said softly. But that's why we're perfect. We're both clueless. We're both nervous. And somehow, that makes this thrilling. Minutes passed, each glance, each accidental touch, each teasing remark sending sparks across the room. They laughed at awkward jokes, argued playfully, and navigated the delicate dance of nervous attraction. Every touch, however slight, left their hearts racing. Finally, Arya sat back on the bed, letting a soft laugh escape her lips. Okay, tonight, no disasters. Progress. Progress, June said, a reluctant, shy nod. Good, she said, rising gracefully. Tomorrow we push the game a little further. Don't worry, I plan to win this little battle of nerves. He swallowed hard, unsure if he wanted to laugh, protest, or simply melt under her charm. All he knew was he wanted her. Her humor, her boldness, her daring smile. And he wanted to protect her from everything, even himself. And somewhere deep inside, Arya realized she felt the same. Despite the nerves, the tension, the fear, they were drawn together in a way neither could resist. The first night ended not with fireworks, not with consummation, not even with dramatic declarations, but with a quiet, undeniable understanding. Something extraordinary had begun. Something unforgettable, thrilling, and dangerous. Something that would pull them closer, one flustered, teasing, heart-pounding moment at a time. The morning sunlight filtered through the hotel curtains, painting the room in soft gold. Arya Johnson stretched lazily on the bed, the memory of last night's laughter and awkward closeness replaying in her mind. She had never expected a first meeting to be like this, so filled with tension, nerves, and curiosity. Her phone buzzed beside her, Mimi's name flashing. You survived. Mimi's voice was loud, almost shrill with excitement. Tell me you survived without fainting or embarrassing yourself. Arya rolled her eyes but grinned. Barely. But you should see him. She could hear the smirk in her own voice. Totally calm on the outside, totally flustered on the inside. Mimi's laughter filled the speaker. I knew it. That's perfect. Did you tease him? Did you? Oh, Arya, please don't tell me you. I teased him, Arya interrupted, holding a finger up. But nicely, mostly. He's cute when he's nervous, Mimi. Really cute. Cute. Girl, don't you know? Cute is a trap. Mimi squealed. Once you're in too deep, you're done. Arya chuckled softly, shaking her head. We'll see about that. The call ended, leaving her alone in the room. She glanced toward the chair where Han Jun had slept, or rather, where he had attempted to sleep. He was now standing by the window, adjusting his suit jacket, staring out at the Seoul skyline. His posture was perfect, but there was a subtle stiffness in his shoulders that betrayed his nerves. Arya smirked, sliding off the bed. Good morning, she said, her voice soft yet teasing. He turned, his expression polite, almost neutral. Good morning, he replied, but she noticed the slight falter, the way his hands twitched at his sides. Didn't sleep well? She asked innocently, stepping closer. He shook his head, rubbing the back of his neck. I slept. Just lightly. Arya's lips curved. Lightly, huh? That means you were thinking about last night. She raised her eyebrows, tilting her head. Admit it. June froze, then shook his head quickly. I don't think. Liar, she whispered, circling him like a predator and prey mix. I can see it in your eyes. You're thinking about me. You're nervous. And maybe a little curious. Don't worry. That's normal. He swallowed hard, his chest rising and falling faster. Normal. Yes, normal, she said, stepping closer, her voice dropping slightly. Normal for someone like you to feel intrigued by someone like me. His eyes flicked down to her lips again, and she noticed the quick intake of breath he tried to hide. A mischievous smile tugged at hers. You know, she said, soft but teasing, we could just skip all the polite talk, but I think you'd rather freeze in place and admire me instead. I admire you, he admitted, voice barely audible, the confession slipping out before his careful control could stop it. Arya laughed softly, delighted. See? That wasn't so hard. She leaned closer, close enough for him to feel the warmth radiating off her. And I admire you too, even if you are awkward. He gave a small, almost shy smile. Awkward? Yes? She whispered, tilting her head, brushing her fingers lightly against his arm. Awkward and intriguing. A pause fell over them, heavy and electric. Neither moved, both aware of the pull between them. Every accidental brush of fingers, every glance, every shared smile made the room smaller, tighter, hotter. Then Arya's phone buzzed again, and she laughed softly. Oh, it's Mimi. She's probably live commenting my every move. She glanced at June. Do you mind if I take a quick call? He nodded stiffly, stepping aside. She answered, laughter spilling from her as she leaned against the bed. Arya, spill it. What's happening? Mimi's voice was a torrent of excitement. Nothing dangerous yet, Arya said, smirking. He's adorable, and awkward, and cute, and cute again? Girl, I told you. Mimi's laughter made Arya grin. I don't care if he's scary and rich. You'll make him fall. Arya shook her head, covering the phone slightly. Mimi, not everything needs to be dramatic. I mean, he's nervous. I'm nervous. It's just... She trailed off, glancing at June, who was now pretending not to listen but clearly was. Funny, cute, awkward, you get it. You're hilarious, Mimi said. Just keep doing what you're doing. Push him a little. Make him sweat. Trust me. Arya ended the call, slipping her phone back into her bag. She looked at June and he raised an eyebrow. Trust her. I trust myself, she said, moving closer, their proximity electric. And maybe you too. A little. He shifted, uncomfortable but drawn in by her boldness. A little? Yes, a little, she repeated with a teasing smirk. More if you survive the next hour without panicking. June's pulse quickened. Next hour. Arya laughed softly, brushing a hand lightly across his arm. Yes, I plan to make sure you don't have a chance to retreat. Minutes melted into playful arguments, accidental touches, and shared glances. She teased him about his stiff posture. He muttered complaints about her smirks, and yet neither could stop laughing, nor could they stop noticing the pull growing between them. Every small movement became an opportunity to draw closer, every joke a chance to break walls built over years of fear and pretense. Finally, Arya flopped dramatically onto the bed. All right, Mr. Intimidating, admit it. You're intrigued. His voice faltered. I am. Good, she whispered, curling up slightly, a soft smile lighting her face. Because I'm intrigued too. And tomorrow, we see if nerves can turn into something more. June's breath caught. Something more. Yes, she said simply, brushing a stray lock of hair behind her ear. Something more. And in that quiet hotel room, the city buzzing below, both of them understood. Last night had been only the beginning. There would be more awkward touches, more laughter, more teasing, and eventually, something neither of them could deny. For now, though, they were caught in the thrill of not knowing, of wanting, and of discovering each other piece by piece. The soft hum of Seoul's nightlife seeped through the window, a distant echo of music and car engines. But inside the hotel room, the world was entirely theirs. Arya Johnson sat on the edge of the bed, her fingers absently tracing the folds of the blanket, her mind buzzing with the memory of the morning. She had never imagined a vacation in Korea could feel so alive, so chaotic in the best way, so heart-racing. Across the room, Han Jun was meticulously straightening the edge of the desk, pretending not to notice her watching him. His calm demeanor was still intact, but his hands betrayed him, trembling ever so slightly. He was trying. That was the thing. Trying to stay composed in front of a woman who wasn't just bold. She was radiant, teasing, and terrifyingly unpredictable. Arya smirked. You know, she said, tilting her head. You look less intimidating when you're flustered. June froze mid-motion. Flustered? Yes, she said, stepping closer, letting her fingers brush lightly against the back of his hand as he adjusted papers. A little nervous, a little unsure, and totally, completely adorable. He blinked, heat creeping up his neck. Adorable? He repeated, voice barely above a whisper. I am not. You are. Arya cut him off, grinning. And it's kind of unfair, honestly. Here I am, trying to act like I know what I'm doing, and you're making it way too easy for me to see right through you. June let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. He stopped himself, unsure how to explain that he wasn't some confident playboy, wasn't used to this kind of closeness, and certainly wasn't ready for whatever this was turning into. Arya noticed his hesitation and leaned against the desk, tilting her head playfully. You know, she said, I think we should have a rule. No pretending tonight, no masks, no trying to impress each other. Just us. He looked at her, unblinking, considering. Just us. Yes, she whispered. No games, no expectations. Just seeing if we can survive each other for one evening without making fools of ourselves. June gave the faintest smile, the corners of his lips twitching upwards. I can try. Try? She asked, mock offense in her voice. Honey, we're either doing this or we're not. There's no half-hearted attempts with me. He swallowed hard, realizing she was teasing him, yet also giving him space to be honest. Then, I'll do my best. Good, Arya said, perching herself on the edge of the bed, because I plan to test your limits, mentally, emotionally, and maybe a little physically. June's pulse quickened. Physically? Yes, she said with a teasing smirk. But only if you survive my mental and emotional challenges first. Before he could reply, her phone buzzed again. Mimi. Arya snatched it up, grinning. You'll love this, she said. She's going to coach me through everything tonight. Coach you? June's brows knitted. Yes, Arya said, answering the call. Mimi, what's the plan? Oh, honey, Mimi shrieked through the speaker. First, you have to make him sweat. Get him nervous. Confess a little. Tease a lot. And for heaven's sake, don't let him think he's in control. Arya laughed, shaking her head. Got it. Make him sweat. Confess a little. Tease a lot. She glanced at June, whose eyes were wide, and muttered under her breath. Poor thing has no idea. June's lips twitched. No idea? He echoed, though the edge of a smile betrayed his amusement. Exactly, she whispered, hanging up. Welcome to my world, Mr. Intimidating. He inhaled sharply, almost laughing, almost panicking. Intimidating? Yes, she said, moving closer, letting the soft brush of her hand against his arm linger. And yet, adorable. Minutes stretched as they sat together, bantering, teasing, laughing, and sharing small confessions. Arya found herself fascinated by the way he carefully chose his words, the way he tried to maintain composure yet failed spectacularly in the cutest ways. June, on the other hand, couldn't stop noticing the way she moved, how her eyes sparkled with mischief, and the warmth in her laughter that made him want to protect her and melt into her at the same time. You know, Arya said suddenly, leaning back, I didn't expect this. I thought you'd be scary, cold, distant. And instead, June prompted, his voice low. Instead, she said softly, you're human, flustered, nervous, shy, and somehow irresistible. He swallowed, a warmth spreading through him that he hadn't anticipated. Irresistible. Yes, she whispered, moving closer, so close he could feel her breath. And dangerous. He froze, unsure if she meant emotionally, mentally, or something else entirely. The tension between them was electric, every nerve firing. Arya smirked, reading his reaction. Relax, she said softly. I'm dangerous in the best possible way. June's chest rose and fell rapidly, his carefully maintained calm slipping. Best possible way? He echoed, almost in disbelief. Yes, she said, tilting her head, brushing a finger lightly across his hand. And tonight we explore that danger. Together, their eyes locked, the room vibrating with anticipation, humor, and something dangerously close to desire. Neither moved forward, neither stepped back. They were two people, nervous, awkward, and perfectly imperfect, caught in the thrill of discovering each other piece by piece. Hours passed unnoticed. The city outside buzzed with life, but inside the hotel room, time had slowed. Their laughter, teasing, accidental touches, and quiet confessions filled the space with warmth and tension. And though neither of them admitted it aloud, both knew this was more than curiosity, more than nervous banter, more than playful teasing. Something deeper, sweeter, and unstoppable was beginning. Finally, Arya stretched, letting out a soft sigh. "All right, Mr. Intimidating," she said, voice soft but teasing. "Let's call it a night. But tomorrow things get interesting. I promise." June nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Interesting. Yes," she whispered, brushing past him to grab her bag. "Very interesting." As she settled into the corner of the room with her laptop, checking messages and quietly giggling at Mimi's nonstop advice, June stood by the window, watching her with a mixture of awe, fear, and something he wasn't ready to name. The night ended quietly, yet the spark between them burned brighter than ever. And somewhere deep inside, both knew this was only the beginning of something unforgettable, thrilling, and, inevitably, life-changing. The city lights outside the hotel room glimmered like a million tiny stars, reflected in the polished windows. Arya Johnson sat cross-legged on the bed, scrolling through her phone, but her mind was far from the messages. She couldn't stop replaying the morning, the teasing, the way Han Jun had reacted to her jokes, his nervous glances, the way he had subtly leaned in when she wasn't looking. She heard the soft rustle of movement and looked up to find him standing near the window again, hands loosely in his pockets, gaze fixed on her. "You're still awake?" she asked, trying to sound casual, though her heart beat faster than it should. "I couldn't sleep," he admitted, voice low. "Thought I should check on you." Arya smirked, patting the bed beside her. "Check on me, huh? How sweet. But be careful. I bite, metaphorically, of course." June hesitated, then slowly stepped closer. "Metaphorically? Yes," she said, teasing. "Mostly metaphorically, but maybe a little literally if you misbehave." She laughed softly, and his lips twitched upward in a smile he quickly tried to hide. He finally sat down beside her, keeping a careful distance. I'm not used to this," he whispered. "Being close to someone without chaos or threats." Arya's eyes softened. "Then you're in luck," she said, reaching out to lightly brush a hand across his. "Because with me there's no chaos. Just honesty, teasing, and maybe a little trouble. But the kind you want." He exhaled slowly, feeling his heartbeat quicken. "Trouble, I can handle," he murmured. "If it's the kind you want." Arya laughed, shaking her head. "You're ridiculous, but cute. Very cute." She tilted her head, studying him. "Do you ever get scared? Like, really scared? Not of work, not of threats, but life." June looked down, fingers fidgeting. "All the time," he admitted softly. "People think I'm fearless, that I'm always in control. But I'm not. I'm terrified of being vulnerable." Arya's breath caught. "Vulnerable?" she echoed, her voice gentle. "That's brave. Admitting it." He shrugged slightly, a faint blush on his cheeks. "Maybe, but you're different. You make me want to not hide." Her smile widened. "Really?" she whispered, inching a little closer. "You want to not hide?" "Yes," he said, voice low, almost a whisper. "With you, I want to be real. Not the June everyone fears. Not the Mafia. Just me." Arya's chest fluttered. "That's a big deal," she murmured. "I never thought I'd meet someone like you. Someone who actually sees me, not the persona I project." He met her gaze, eyes dark, intense, vulnerable. "I see you," he said softly. "All of you." Her lips curved, soft and tender. "Good," she whispered, "because I see you too." More than anyone else ever has. A pause fell over them, filled only by the hum of the city outside. Their hands were nearly touching, hearts racing, breaths mingling in the quiet. Every second felt infinite. Then, breaking the silence, Arya's phone buzzed again. She sighed, checking it. Mimi. She never sleeps? Arya whispered, covering the phone with her hand. Probably Liv commenting again. June tilted his head, eyes narrowing in curiosity. Liv commenting? Yes, Arya said, giggling softly. She's my best friend. She gives advice whether I want it or not. She's probably screaming at me right now to, I don't know, make you blush more or something. June blinked, an amused smile tugging at his lips. Blush? Arya grinned. Yes, blush, and judging by your cheeks. It's working. She lightly tapped his arm. See? You're already responding to my influence. He swallowed, heat rising, and she noticed how tense he was, how every subtle movement betrayed his growing awareness of her proximity. It was intoxicating, frustrating, and thrilling all at once. You play games, he muttered, voice low. Games? She repeated, arching an eyebrow. Honey, this isn't a game. This is chemistry. He blinked, startled by the intensity of her gaze. Chemistry? Yes, she said, moving just a fraction closer, her hand brushing his without breaking the silence. Something real, something dangerous, something that could change everything. June's breath hitched. He wanted to move, to speak, to close the distance, but fear held him back. Fear of desire, fear of intimacy, fear of letting someone see him as he truly was. Arya noticed, smirking softly. Scared? She whispered. Yes, he admitted, almost ashamed. Terrified. Good, she said softly, leaning in just slightly, her eyes locking with his. Because I'm scared too. A quiet laugh escaped them both. Nervous, shaky, but full of warmth. For the first time, the walls around June's heart seemed to waver. For the first time, Arya felt someone truly getting her, laughing with her, afraid with her. Minutes passed, filled with playful teasing, small touches, and the slow realization that neither wanted to break the spell. Every glance, every accidental brush of fingers, every shared laugh deepened their connection. Finally, Arya stretched, a soft sigh escaping her lips. All right, Mr. Intimidating, she said, voice teasing but warm. Let's call it a night. But tomorrow things will get more interesting. June's pulse raced. More interesting? Yes, she whispered, her lips barely inches from his. Very interesting. And in that quiet room, the city alive outside, hearts racing, laughter lingering, both of them understood. This was no longer just nervous attraction. This was the beginning of something unstoppable, thrilling, and utterly unforgettable. The late-night Seoul streets glimmered far below the hotel room window, but inside, the room felt like a universe entirely its own. Arya Johnson sat cross-legged on the bed, her phone abandoned beside her as she watched Han Jun adjust his cufflinks with meticulous precision. He was trying so hard to appear calm, controlled, untouchable, but she could see through it. You're still fiddling with those? She asked softly, voice teasing but warm. June glanced at her, fingers pausing mid-adjustment. I like to maintain control, he said, a slight falter in his voice betraying the tension beneath his polished exterior. Arya grinned. Control, huh? Well, Mr. Intimidating. Sometimes control isn't everything. Sometimes spontaneity is fun. She let her words linger, a soft laugh escaping her lips. He looked at her, eyes darkening, pulse quickening. Fun. Yes, she said, inching a little closer, letting her fingers brush his hand lightly as she passed. Fun, dangerous, thrilling, and irresistible. June's breath hitched, and he tried to hide it behind a cough, but Arya noticed, smirking softly. Irresistible? He repeated, almost inaudibly. Yes, she whispered, tilting her head, her eyes locking with his. And you can't deny it. He swallowed hard, caught off guard. You what? She teased, leaning closer. The air between them was electric, every nerve on fire, every glance loaded with unspoken desire. I don't know what to do, he admitted, voice low. Vulnerability, raw and unexpected, poured from him in that moment. Arya's smile softened, a warmth touching her eyes. Then don't do anything yet. Just be here with me. That's enough. For a long moment, they simply sat there, close but not touching, hearts racing in sync, breaths shallow. The tension was intoxicating, a delicious mix of fear, curiosity, and attraction. Arya's lips curved into a mischievous smile. You know, she said softly, we're like two magnets, constantly drawn to each other, but neither of us wants to admit it. He blinked, caught off guard. Magnets? Yes, she said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. We're polar opposites, but somehow perfectly aligned. And I can't stop noticing you. June's throat tightened. Noticing me? Every little thing, she said, her voice low, almost a whisper. The way you hesitate before you speak. The way you glance at me when you think I'm not looking. The way your hands almost reach for me but don't. He swallowed hard, aware of how close she had moved. Almost. Yes, she breathed, leaning in so their knees brushed lightly. Almost, but not yet. And that makes it thrilling. He could barely think, every nerve on fire. Thrilling? He repeated, voice rough. Yes, she said softly, her hand hovering near his, the air between them charged. Because the anticipation, the not knowing, it's unbearable. Arya laughed softly, breaking the tension, a playful sparkle in her eyes. See, I knew you'd blush. Admit it. He shifted slightly, the faintest pink on his cheeks. I might be, he murmured. Might be? She teased. Honey, it's very obvious. And adorable. She reached out, letting her fingers brush his hand again, lingering just enough to send sparks up both their arms. June inhaled sharply, his pulse racing. You are dangerous, he whispered. And you? She teased, leaning back slightly. Are you irresistible? I don't know, he admitted, voice trembling. I've never felt like this. Neither have I, she confessed, voice soft. But maybe that's why it's perfect. We don't have rules, expectations, just us. He exhaled, letting his hands drop to his knees. Just us, he repeated, as if tasting the words, letting them sink in. The room fell silent, save for the hum of the city outside. Arya's gaze lingered on him, heart racing, mind spinning with desire and fear. She wanted to reach out, to close the distance, to feel the warmth of his skin, but something held her back. Respect, caution, or maybe the thrill of the chase. June's eyes, dark and intense, followed her every movement. He wanted to move closer, to bridge the space between them, but he was terrified of ruining everything, terrified of misreading her signals, terrified of himself. Arya noticed the tension, smirking softly. You know, she whispered, leaning closer. We could just let go of all the rules, stop pretending, see what happens. He froze, pulse racing, unsure if he should lean in, retreat, or succumb to the magnetic pull between them. See what happens? Yes, she breathed, her face inches from his, every heartbeat echoing in the small room. See what happens when we stop holding back. Their eyes locked, breaths mingling, and for a moment, time stood still. Every unspoken word, every nervous glance, every teasing smile converged into a single, electric moment. Then, breaking the spell, Arya's phone buzzed. She sighed, glancing at it. Mimi, of course. She rolled her eyes and chuckled. Always the perfect timing. June raised an eyebrow. Perfect timing? Yes, she said softly, sliding slightly away from him. Because Mimi will probably yell at me for daring to get this close to you. He laughed softly, the sound low and warm, a rare glimpse of genuine amusement escaping his carefully guarded exterior. Yelling, "Huh? I think I can survive that." Arya smirked, tapping his arm lightly. "Good, because tomorrow things will get even more interesting. And trust me, I plan to make sure you notice every single detail." June's pulse quickened. "Interesting." "Yes," she whispered, voice low, teasing electric. "Very interesting." The night ended with laughter, teasing, and lingering glances that neither could ignore. And in that quiet room, hearts racing, they both understood. This was no longer just nervous attraction. This was the beginning of something unforgettable, thrilling, and utterly irresistible. The moon hung high over Seoul, spilling silver light across the hotel room floor. The city outside buzzed and hummed, but inside, the room had become a universe of its own. A universe defined by two people teetering between curiosity, desire, and fear. Arya Johnson lounged on the bed, her phone abandoned, heart still racing from earlier glances and subtle touches. Han Jun sat in the chair by the desk, trying desperately to read a document on his tablet, but his eyes kept drifting toward her. "You're staring again," Arya said, her voice teasing but soft, catching him mid-glance. He jumped slightly, clearing his throat. I am not staring," he protested, though the faint blush on his cheeks betrayed him. "Not staring?" she said with a smirk, crawling closer, letting her hand brush his knee accidentally, or maybe intentionally. Interesting definition of staring." June's pulse quickened. "Accidental," he said quickly, hands gripping the edge of his chair. "Totally accidental." Arya laughed softly, a sound that made him forget his own nervousness for a moment. "Accidental, huh? Sure, honey, I'll believe that. But you look like you're trying not to faint every time I move." "I am not fainting," he muttered, though the quick intake of breath betrayed him. "Right?" she whispered, inching closer so their knees brushed again. "You're fine, totally fine, just a little flustered. That's cute." He swallowed, heat rising to his ears. "Cute? Yes," she said, leaning back slightly, letting her eyes linger on him. "Cute and awkward and irresistible." June's heart skipped a beat. "Irresistible?" he echoed, almost inaudibly. "Yes," she whispered, tilting her head. "And don't deny it. I can see it in your eyes." He tried to look away but couldn't. Every nerve in his body was alive, every sense tuned to her, every heartbeat synced with hers. Arya smiled softly, sensing the tension. "You know we're like two magnets," she said, her voice low, teasing. "Drawn together, but neither of us knows how to close the gap completely." "Magnets," he repeated, voice trembling slightly. "Drawn." "Yes," she said softly, reaching out, letting her fingers lightly brush his hand again. Sparks shot through him at the contact. "And tonight, we're dangerously close." June's breath caught. "Dangerously?" "Yes," she whispered, leaning in just slightly. "The kind that makes you question everything you thought you knew about yourself." He looked at her, eyes dark, pulse racing, caught in the pull of her words and presence. "I don't know if I'm ready," he admitted softly, "for whatever this is." Arya tilted her head, smiling softly. "Ready?" she asked. "Honey, neither am I. That's what makes it thrilling." He swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her words, the closeness, the undeniable pull between them. "Thrilling?" he whispered, as if tasting it for the first time. "Yes," she said, her voice soft, eyes locked on his. "And tonight, we explore that thrill, slowly, carefully, but we don't retreat. Not now. Not yet." June's hands twitched, almost reaching for her, but he hesitated. Fear, desire, and respect warred inside him. He wanted to close the distance, to feel her, to touch her, to confess every thought racing in his head, but he couldn't. Not yet. Arya noticed the hesitation, smirking softly. "Scared?" she whispered, letting her hand hover near his. "Yes," he admitted, voice low. "Terrified of ruining everything. Good, she said softly, leaning slightly closer. Because I'm terrified too. They laughed softly, the tension breaking momentarily, but it only made the anticipation worse. Every brush of fingers, every accidental touch, every shared glance became a spark threatening to ignite a fire they weren't ready for. Minutes passed in playful teasing and nervous laughter. Arya's eyes sparkled as she studied him, seeing the vulnerability beneath the polished, intimidating exterior. June, in turn, was captivated by her confidence, her warmth, and the subtle teasing that made him want to throw caution to the wind and finally let himself be completely honest with her, with himself. Then, the room went quiet, the only sound their synchronized breathing. Arya tilted her head, a teasing smirk on her lips. You know, we could just see what happens if we stop pretending, she whispered, voice soft, eyes locked on his. June froze, pulse racing. See what happens? Yes, she breathed, leaning slightly closer, the distance between them shrinking, the air thick with tension. When we stop holding back. Their eyes locked, hearts racing, and for a moment, the world outside ceased to exist. The city lights, the hum of traffic, the distant laughter of the night. All of it faded. There was only them, suspended in a moment of possibility, desire, and fear. Then, breaking the silence, Arya's phone buzzed again. She rolled her eyes, glancing at it. Mimi, of course. She laughed softly, shaking her head. Perfect timing, she whispered. June raised an eyebrow. Perfect timing? Yes, she said softly, leaning back slightly. Because Mimi will probably scream at me for daring to get this close to you. He chuckled, the sound low and warm, a rare glimpse of genuine amusement escaping him. Yelling, huh? I think I can survive that. Arya smirked, letting her fingers lightly brush his arm again. Good, because tomorrow things get even more interesting. And trust me, I plan to make sure you notice every single detail. June's pulse quickened. Interesting. Yes, she whispered, voice low, teasing electric. Very interesting. The night ended with laughter, teasing, and lingering glances neither could ignore. And in that quiet room, hearts racing, both knew. The line between curiosity and desire was blurring. The thrill of anticipation, the tension, and the unspoken confessions were creating something unstoppable, thrilling, and utterly unforgettable. The hotel room was quiet, almost expectant. Seoul's night lights spilled across the floor, but inside, the space was charged with a tension that neither Arya Johnson nor Han June could ignore. Every glance, every soft sigh, every accidental touch seemed amplified 100 times over. Arya sat cross-legged on the bed, fingers lightly tapping on the duvet as if she were trying to calm herself. She had never felt so alive, so nervous, and so thrilled all at once. Han Jun stood by the window, hands tucked into his pockets, a careful distance between them, but his eyes never left her. You really can't just sit there, can you? She teased, tilting her head. He swallowed, clearing his throat. I want to, he admitted softly, voice low, but I don't know how. Arya's lips curved into a teasing smile. How? Honey, it's simple. Just follow me. Or me and my rules. He froze. Rules? Yes, she said, patting the bed beside her. Number 1, no running away. Number 2, no overthinking. Number 3, laugh. A lot. And maybe blush a little. June's pulse raced. Blush? Yes, she whispered, inching slightly closer so that their knees brushed. And judging by your cheeks, it's working. He exhaled sharply, aware of every inch of space between them, of the electricity in the air. I'm trying, he admitted. Trying? She echoed, a laugh escaping her. Honey, this isn't a test. This is chemistry. And it's unstoppable. For a moment, neither spoke. They simply existed in the shared space. Hearts racing, breaths shallow, nerves on fire. Every accidental brush of hands, every subtle glance, every teasing smile heightened the tension between them. Arya tilted her head, studying him, her smile softening. You know, you're different from anyone I've ever met, she whispered. You're honest, vulnerable, and terrifyingly irresistible. June's breath hitched. Irresistible? He repeated. Yes, she whispered, leaning just slightly closer. So close that the warmth of her breath brushed his cheek. And you can't deny it. He swallowed hard, heart hammering, as the space between them seemed to shrink. I don't know what to do, he admitted softly, vulnerability raw in his voice. I want, but I scared. Arya's smile softened, and she reached out, letting her hand brush his arm gently. Then, don't do anything yet, she whispered. Just be here with me. That's enough. His pulse raced, nerves fraying. Every instinct screamed to move closer, to close the gap, to feel her, to touch her. But fear, respect, and desire wove a complicated web around him. Arya noticed, smirking softly. Scared? She teased. Yes, he admitted, voice trembling. Terrified of everything. Good, she whispered, because I'm terrified too. They laughed softly, the tension breaking for a heartbeat, but it only made the anticipation worse. Every glance, every soft movement, every accidental touch became a spark threatening to ignite a fire neither could control. Minutes passed in playful teasing, nervous laughter, and near touches. Arya's eyes sparkled as she studied him, captivated by the vulnerability beneath his intimidating exterior. June, in turn, was mesmerized by her confidence, warmth, and the subtle teasing that made him want to throw caution aside and finally be completely honest with her, with himself. Then, slowly, hesitantly, he moved a fraction closer. The air between them was thick, electric, every nerve on fire. Arya's breath hitched, sensing the change, and she tilted her head, letting a teasing smirk grace her lips. Closer, but still cautious, she whispered. Yes, he murmured, still cautious, but I want to closer. Her smile softened, and she leaned in slightly, brushing their knees together. Good, she whispered, because I want you too. Their eyes locked, breaths mingling, hearts racing, and for the first time, the barriers of fear and pretense began to crumble. Every hesitation, every laugh, every teasing glance built to this singular, undeniable truth. They wanted each other. Arya reached out, letting her hand hover over his, electricity shooting through both of them at the mere contact. June's pulse surged, and he finally let his fingers brush against hers. The spark was immediate, intense, overwhelming. You, he whispered, voice trembling. You're something else. So are you, she replied softly, letting her thumb graze the back of his hand. Something I didn't expect. Something dangerous and perfect. He swallowed, moving slightly closer, the space between them now almost non-existent. Perfect, dangerous, he echoed, every word a shiver of anticipation. Yes, she whispered, leaning just enough that their shoulders brushed. And I want to see where this goes. He exhaled sharply, heart racing, and in one bold move, finally closed the gap. Their hands intertwined fully, fingers lacing together naturally, as if they had always belonged that way. Arya laughed softly, a mixture of nerves and delight. Well, we did it, she whispered. We crossed the line. June's lips twitched into a smile, his forehead brushing against hers. Yes, we did, he murmured. And I'm glad. Terrified, but glad. They stayed like that for a long moment, hearts pounding, breaths mingling, fingers intertwined, laughter and nervous sighs filling the room. The world outside ceased to exist. There was no fear, no past, no expectations, just the undeniable, electrifying connection between them. Finally, Arya tilted her head, eyes sparkling with mischief. You know, she whispered, tomorrow, things are only going to get more interesting. June laughed softly, a low, warm sound. Interesting. Yes, she said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. Very interesting. And I have a feeling we're gonna survive it. Together. And in that quiet room, hearts racing, breaths shallow, fingers intertwined, both of them understood. This was no longer just attraction or nervous curiosity. This was the beginning of something unstoppable, thrilling, and utterly unforgettable. They leaned back on the bed, still close, still holding hands, laughing softly at their own nerves, savoring the moment and realizing, finally, that sometimes the sweetest things in life come when you take the leap together.
Hello besties, two virgins, one hotel room, and too many secrets. Arya thought she was ready, but Hanjun's awkward escape left her more curious than ever. Will their next meeting finally break the tension or their hearts? Don't miss episode 2. Thank you so much for watching. Kindly like, subscribe, and share.